The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, staff, management, or advertisers.
Coming to you on stations coast to coast, it's the Makin It radio show with your hosts, self-made millionaires Tommy Runfola and Todd Williams. Tommy Runfola, founder and president of one of America's top technology, consumer products, and media companies. Author, investor, and National Entrepreneur of the Year nominee. Tommy has worked with 5 U.S. presidents and vice presidents. Todd Williams, founder and CEO of Inc. Magazine's 2013 fastest growing food and beverage companies in America. A former NBC TV personality and Harvard Business alumnus. Makin It is the source for success stories and in-the-trenches information that outlines a roadmap to the American dream. And now, here's Tommy and Todd.
Hey, America. So glad you're with us today. This is Tommy and Todd, coast to coast. How are you doing today, big guy?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Good.
And it's actually called Making It, too, you know. I appreciate you just taking us coast to coast.
Well,
on everything.
I figured everybody knew we were making it.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
There is that introduction.
Yeah, there is that.
At the beginning.
Yes.
Brittany, how are you today?
I'm awesome. How are you doing?
We're doing great here. Yes. So, Brittany, what's going on today?
Okay, well, first off on our Show Buzz segment, we're going to be discussing Like a Boss, which is a show basically starring Nick Cannon, produced by Nick Cannon, and guests. So we'll get to that in a second. Then we have an awesome interview with 2 gentlemen who created something called the Digiwrap, and they were featured on Shark Tank, and they actually got money and partnered with Kevin O'Leary.
Okay, we're going to find out.
So they had a successful pitch.
Find out all about that, yes.
Exactly, and hear about what they did to actually really make their product special and win the attention of the sharks and win their money, too.
Great.
Then we're discussing on Making It or Breaking It, does a college degree actually still matter? And in the eyes of your boss, how much does it actually matter? How much credibility does it get you, and how much money does it get you?
That's interesting.
We'll see what Mr. Harvard thinks about that.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
I can already hear what you guys are going to say in my head.
You'll be surprised.
Yeah. Well, Brittany, before we get started,
Okay.
tell the folks how they can now see us.
Yes.
As well as hear us.
Yes, we're on our green screen, and you can check us out on our website, makingitnow.com. That's the easiest way to connect to our YouTube channel, and then also connect to our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter feed, and we have some behind-the-scenes footage right there on our website.
All right. So
I'm glad we got that out so I don't forget it at the end.
Right, exactly.
Like last
people
show.
have to see how
Like
pretty
every
Todd
time.
really is.
Check us out. Check us out.
They're going to be surprised how
See all
handsome
the
this man
antics.
really is. Yes.
That are actually going on behind the scenes.
All right.
Making it show buzz.
Making It Show Buzz. Like a Boss is basically Nick Cannon's show, and he's hosting it. It's on the Oxygen channel. And I like this show because it's kind of a different twist on the age-old story of working your way up from the bottom up. And so he's bringing these different people who are basically assistants on the show, and he's teaching them the world of business, how to really make it, how to hustle. And he has kind of an edge to the show. So it's not just straight up here, let's go into the office every day. Here's how you make this sale. Here's how you make this pitch. He gets more down to the intangibles and the things that people won't necessarily teach you. He talks a lot about how you present yourself and the confidence that you have. And he talks all the way down to brushing your teeth, making sure you have fresh breath, making sure that your clothes match what you're trying to pitch and who you're trying to sell to, making sure that you work out and drink enough water and take care of your health and your physical fitness so that you can be in top shape to go out there and hustle, get your game on, win at life. So I like his angle. I like his edge. But I like that it's, back to the basics of working your way from the bottom up and teaching some really strong principles that really work in business.
I checked out this show on YouTube, and first of all, I love Nick Cannon.
Really?
Yeah, I do. He's great.
He's a great host. He can host so many different shows.
Yeah, and he's real.
Yeah.
I just love the guy. He says some great things. The first thing with this boss in training, and that's what these assistants are. They're not in there really to be an assistant.
Right.
Some of them are already bosses in their own business, but they want to be mentored by Nick Cannon.
And it checks their ego because they have to go back down to be able to work their way up.
Yeah. The one thing he says, if you want to be a boss, if you want to be in business, no task is too big or too small for you. Okay, so we hear entrepreneurs all the time. They started out, sweeping the floors or running errands and so on. And we've had that experience in our own lives, I know. He gives some real practical advice. And what this does, most of these assistants are young or youngish, and it empowers them and makes them understand what the world of business is really about.
There's a one thing that hit me about it is that it shows that there's a chance with millennials, because these are millennials for the most part,
Right.
And they're showing them actually working hard from the ground up and going to the top. And so it's not all millennials are lazy and don't want to work.
Absolutely.
And aren't interested in being successful. So that's one thing that caught me on the show. The other thing is, I know that we've been discussing about, hiring personal assistants and things of that nature, and just how a real personal assistant is good.
Yes.
I mean,
and how they really have to become a part of the business. Like, I like
Right.
that he's very straightforward and very upfront in saying, okay, you're not here just to get me coffee and like go with the flow and be my secretary. He's like,
Right.
you're here to learn every part of the business
Absolutely.
just as well as I know it and be able to cover for every part of the business.
one of the assistants, he said, Nick Cannon said, your life becomes your boss's life.
Yes.
And this is not just like where you're just running errands for somebody.
Exactly.
I mean, you have to get that in depth.
You have to know how they run their business.
I know this firsthand because one of my clients was the chairman of Victoria's Secret Limited.
Yes.
And I worked with his assistants, and one in particular. And there is just no hole not covered. Every ground is thought of, and just professionalism, everything is taken care of, and it's just at that level. And so that's really what it is. And I can see how Kim Kardashian, she started off as a personal assistant.
I didn't know that.
And then she worked her way up to what she is now. So
No, she wasn't your personal assistant,
No,
I assume.
no.
No.
Was she a personal assistant for Paris Hilton, or she was just friends with her?
I think she was personal assistant for Paris Hilton.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
No, it's for a couple stars.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll call in and tell us which star it was.
But you can you're right there. I mean, you can learn
Right.
the entire business. Like if you're a personal assistant or a bodyguard, you're in on the inside.
Absolutely.
Just what your aptitude is.
Yes. Yeah, and you get all the inside information, and you know about their personal life and everything,
Yes.
and it's a very trusted position, really.
I don't think it's not as glamorous as people probably imagine it to be.
Well, that's
I mean,
right.
it's just a lot of work.
Well, and I like that you get to see, like, those people taking advantage of that opportunity. It really lets them in to see the unglamorous side, especially in this case, in the world of show business and celebrity, how unglamorous things actually are, and all the stuff you actually have to deal with on a daily basis when you're running a business.
There's a lady in L.A. Named Pam Hendrickson, and she's like a motivational and business guru. And her story is very interesting. She started out as the receptionist in Tony Robbins' organization and worked her way up for 18 years, where she was really packaging and developing information products for Tony and so on. And she finally, she was his assistant for 18 years before she went out on her own. And she learned the business from the ground up, and she's doing extremely well now.
That's
so
awesome.
you can't pay for this kind of education.
Exactly.
It's a master's degree that you learn in the trenches that you just couldn't get anywhere else.
You're listening to Making It with Tommy and Todd, coast to coast. One of the personal assistants, it was funny. She said she feels like she's a correctional officer, keeping everybody in line.
Yes.
And she was in like a very male-dominated entertainment business before. And she said, and the only way to keep all those guys under control, with their egos and everything, was to be like a correctional officer. And I mean, she said, and that's where she learned how to be so regimented and professional and serious about being a personal assistant to bosses.
I would think it'd be very intimidating. You know, you're a person that comes off the street, so to speak, and then all of a sudden you're with these famous people and they're larger than life, and many of them I'm sure have big egos, and to get in there and be able to interact with them and do the things you need to do for them, you really almost have to be on their level.
They go everywhere. I mean, they go into boardroom meetings.
Yes.
I mean, they go on trips.
Well, and I thought it was cool to see the point being proven that, you know, when somebody comes in who already is a business owner, they're out in the world running their own business, they're the boss, to come in and when they take that position of the assistant, it just proves the point that you're constantly learning. And as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, a lot of times you'll get stuck doing things in one way. You'll get stuck, you know, just going the same path over and over again. And so I like to see that growing and that learning experience of going into a slightly different industry, going into a slightly different situation, and all the lessons you can learn from trying something new and doing something new. And then all the lessons you can learn from going back to being the student and, you know, observing from only the viewpoint of the student. You're not the boss. You're not in charge in that moment.
I always tell new people coming into my organization how I got started because I think it's instructive, because people look at you when you're finally the boss and, you know, they don't realize that you weren't always the boss.
Right.
At my first job, my bosses, I had several bosses, but one in particular had me running his personal errands all the time. And one of the things that he did is that he bought these large quantities of beef, steaks and so on for his family.
Okay.
And I was in Cleveland, Ohio, and it would be sometimes almost 100 degrees in the summer, and I had my only black suit that I wore to work not every day, but a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so I'm running around the streets of Cleveland with half of a cow on my back, it felt like, picking up his beef for his family.
Yeah.
And, you know, there was just no doubt that when it was time to order steaks, that I was the guy that was going to go get them and carry them around and deliver them and so on and so forth. And it seemed very demeaning that I was employed to do one thing, but what I really was an errand boy. But it was okay, and I learned from that.
Yeah. This speaking of Tony Robbins, he said that, I mean, way back when he was barely making any money, he said, you know, he was found himself running to the airport, and he had to stop by and pick up his dry cleaning, and then he was stressing out. Then he finally made it to the airport and was running and sprinting to the plane. And he said, and then he just thought, this is insane.
Yes.
I need to hire an assistant. And somebody asked him, you know, what advice would he give them as far as, you know, for success? And he said, hire a personal assistant as soon as possible, he said. So he said, I'm going to hire one 2 hours a day. You know, I pay him $10 a day at that time. And he said, they're going to handle stuff like my dry cleaning and stuff like that. He said, because I need my time freed up to do the work that's more important.
That's so true.
I think one of the things that this show teaches is the difference between being a boss, holding that title, and being a true leader. Nick Cannon is a leader, and a true leader is a person who mentors and encourages and tries to teach and train and motivate.
Yeah.
So, you know, Nick does that. I mean, he really knows how to do that. I wanted to mention real quickly before we go to break, one thing that's very encouraging is when you get to be a boss and you get to be somebody like Nick Cannon. He drives a white Rolls-Royce convertible. It is sweet.
He drives or he has a driver?
He was driving in the
Okay.
show. Yes.
Yeah, a car like that, you want to drive.
Yes.
You got to drive that
Well,
sometime.
Brittany, you'd
I'll
be
take your
sitting in the
word for it,
back
okay.
seat.
No,
You'd
no.
be sitting in the back seat with
Brittany is-
with Todd driving.
Brittany's driven.
Yes.
The other day, she was
I get driven in lesser.
the other day she was like getting in the car to drive me somewhere, and she got in the passenger side.
I was
And
trying to.
I was sitting in the passenger side.
I was standing right
So-
beside
so
the
her car
door.
on your lap?
trying to
As
open it.
as she got in there, I said, "You're driving the car." I mean,
Like,
she's
oh.
so yeah. That's a whole other story. Okay, we're gonna take a break, but everyone check out Like a Boss. It's a great show to look at on the Oxygen Network. We'll be back with more Making It with Tommy and Todd.